Welcome to the Wakefield Doctrine, the theory of Clark, Scotts, and Rogers. This is what appears to be developing into a weekly video blog. That's all I have. Two reasons for doing this thing. One, interestingly enough, what you'll see if you stay with us for the next, hope to keep it under 10 minutes, the next 5 to 7 minutes will be what you would see if you manage to get yourself out here on a Saturday night, because I'll do it too. If anybody wants to do a Saturday night drive in person, there'll be a place we can meet. Others have done it. You get in the car, drive around for 45 minutes and talk about the Wakefield Doctrine. I mean, what more can a person ask out of life than be able to do that? But this, for you people who will not be able to make it to the parking lot next Saturday, is what you'll see. This is the path that we normally take with a couple of asteroids on that little matter, because the path seems to be changing a little bit. But I'll pan left so you can see the ocean. Left pan, right pan. So we're in Narragansett, in Rhode Island. Look at that water, huh? Oh boy, I'm sure they don't mind their picture being taken. It's for the Wakefield Doctrine. I mean, what objection could they have? This is along the ocean, Narragansett, the famous towers that you're seeing as we run under it. And I will keep the bystander jokes to a bare minimum, God willing. I have a diverse audience here. So this is what you would see next Saturday or any other Saturday on a drive. This is the path we take as we drive along. How much fun can you imagine it would be? In fact, I think I'll have to have a raffle. Maybe we'll have a contest. The grand prize being an all... I will stop myself now. I'm getting silly, because I will not be giving a all-expense trip to Wakefield for a 45-minute car ride. We won't be doing that. Let's see if the police mind us taking their pictures. Okay, so now we're actually witnessing some of the damage done by previous hurricanes, blah, blah, blah. So this will be the path as I talk. That's reason number one. Reason number two is I wanted to follow up on the series that we're doing this week in the Doctrine posts about dealing with Scotts specifically, and even more specifically, it's all generated by a friend of the Doctrine, Amy, over at Adorable Chaos. She raised a question / scenario, which was very helpful to give us a platform, an example which we could then use to help illustrate the Wakefield Doctrine. Mostly having to do with, and the answer you can all read, but you know, the drawback to a text-based world like the blogosphere is that, you know, we write to the best of our ability and skills, and especially when it comes to explaining things like a Wakefield Doctrine, you write it as clearly as possible and anticipate understanding and misunderstandings to a certain point. It's limited, in other words. So I thought I would hold forth a little bit on the whole business of Scotts, specifically in the Wakefield Doctrine generally, as we drive along Ocean Road in Narragansett. Let's go back to the hat. The thing about the Wakefield Doctrine, just as a brief recap, we're all born into with the potential to experience the world in one of three ways, as a Scott, Clark, and a Roger. The key element, I mean literally the underpinnings of this whole Wakefield Doctrine, is that what we're calling these worldviews, the worldview of the outsider, the Clarks, the predator, the Scotts, and the herd members of a Roger. Those are meant to designate realities, personal realities. And to underscore that point, we say that, you know, we use the term personality theory because that's what people use. But what we really mean, in a sense, and it's meant to illustrate this business of personal realities, is that the personality type of a Scott is, all that is the normal, healthy person's response to their environment. Any one of us, Clark, Scotts, and Rogers, if we were dropped into the world of a Scott, the worldview at 3 or 4 years old would in fact turn out we'd be a Scott. and we call them predators, and we describe their behaviors, their characteristic behaviors metaphorically, but it comes as a result, an inevitable result, if you will, of the environment they're dealing with, the environment that the what we would say a predator faces. You know, threats, eat, sleep, reproduce, die, eats, you know, that kind of world. Same with the outsiders and all. So I guess I'm coming to that point a lot because it is so critical to the doctrine that we appreciate the idea that a Scott is a Scott, as a Roger and a Clark are, not because they're choosing to, not in that sense, not because, and they're doing it because that is their world. Their behavior reflects their world. That's why we say when you look at somebody and you want to figure out their type, you look at their behavior and you infer the kind of world that they're looking out on, in fact, reacting to. And that's a huge point, simply because the idea that this isn't the choice helps immensely, because most of us tend to say, well, geez, come on, why don't you slow it down, cool off, get more outgoing, stop mumbling. In other words, all of the things that we say to what we're calling the 3 personality types is based on the idea that the person we're talking to has a choice, or better to say that the person we're choosing to talk to, there's some more ocean here, guys, is doing it by choice, and that they could do it otherwise if they really wanted to, if you could convince them to. And I guess that's the point. I'm going long on that little thing. So we all have a predominant worldview. That's the one we live in. And then we also have we are running along with this. I'll try to speed up a bit. And then we have our 2 non-predominant worldviews. Keep that in mind, guys, because the key to us self-improving ourselves is the fact that we have, I'm a Clark, I have a strong secondary Scotian aspect and a weak tertiary Rogerian aspect. Everybody has some extent or another. You could have somebody who's pretty much all Scott with negligible Clark and Rogerian aspects, but the potential is always there, and we're banking on that to look to how we can use this doctrine to our benefit, which takes us to Amy and her scenario of having to deal with Scots. And in the post I hit on 2 points. The second part of her question has to do with, oh man, I was tired for 2 days after this extended confrontation, and the first part, which was how do you deal with these guys? They don't listen. Both very much in keeping with personality types as we understand them through the doctrine, but in fact 2 perspectives. The first question has to do with the understanding the worldview of a Scot. The second question is more the key, as I understood it, which is how do you understand your own worldview? Amy is a self-professed Clark, so I would submit, and I said it in the post, that's normal. That's you deal with Scots. Clarks are all potentially capable of dealing with Scots effectively, but most of the time we're not. Most of the time, Clarks come across, we come across as a pretty laid back, which is the charitable form of passive, not paying attention, way out there kind of life forms. And some more people. Now we're down towards the end of Point Judith Road. So enough about the Clark, but we know that about ourselves, and the fact is we don't deal well with Scots. And Cindy recently, today, in fact, brought up a point about how she's got some Scots in her family, and how does she get over the walking on eggshells because they're around, because they're mercurial. That's the nature of Scots. They're high energy, they're high maintenance, they're pain in the neck sometimes. They're a lot of fun too. So what do you do about that? Well, the doctrine says this thing's for you, it's not for them. So when Cindy raises the question of, now we're going to Galilee Escape Road, we'll finish up our drive. This is like a whole Saturday night all in one. I hope you guys are still with me. This is going to be a long post here, but this is the Galilee Escape Road to Galilee Fishing Port, Rhode Island, etc. So the idea, back to dealing with Scots from the perspective of Amy and Cindy, the question she raised, it's for you and not for them, simply means that, okay, the problem you have with them, the solution to the problem you may think you have with a Scot does not lie with convincing the Scots to act differently. Simple. Does not. It has to do with you understanding what their worldview is like, and you finding within yourself the behavior, the perception, I mixed that up on purpose, we'll come back to that, the behavior perception that allows you to interact with them in a way that's satisfactory to yourself. That's the whole Wakefield Doctrine right there. You know, unlike a lot of personality theories, that the first thing a person does when they find one they like is run up to the spouse, to the boyfriend, to the girlfriend, to anybody and say, hey man, you ought to take this test. Listen, they got you down to a T. Why don't you read this? And then we can talk about how you can change. No, we don't do that. Come on. Okay, basic lesson doctrine. If this guy is a guy, then we have a Roger. Yes, we know that. Why do we know that? Because, let's look closely. He's got a silly hat on his head. He's got a bicycle with more gears than you need. He's got a water bottle with funny fluids, 2 of them. And he's got logos. Okay, enough of that. This is Galilee, fishing Galilee. That's the Block Island Ferry. This is kind of fun. I think I may enjoy watching this post. So trying to keep the theme, the thread of my post here alive. Very key for when talking to Amy and to Cindy is that it's useful, and there's the more you need to do to understand the worldview of those Scots you're contending with. But the outcome, the goal of that knowledge and the clarity on their worldview isn't to convince them to change. It's to allow you to see that there are ways to act with them that you're capable of, that you are inherently a part of your worldview, that allows a more satisfactory interaction. Even if it means rolled up newspapers. And I'm kind of expecting to hear from the Scots on that. And that's, you know, metaphors are meant to be exaggerated. That's an old saying that somebody said. All right, so I'm going to slow down because this is actually what we do. Oh, stormy day out on the breakwater here. That's kind of cool. Look at that. I don't think you can see that in the small screen here. Let's see, we're going to park and then we're going to leave, and then I'll end this thing, and then you guys will show up Saturday night. And we come to this, and yeah. Alright, that's what we do. So, this concludes our post of the Wakefield Doctrine. Keep those cards and letters coming in, and we will continue the discussion of how to deal with Scots. We are waiting to hear from other people, because Rogers and Clark's, it's all grist for the mill here, guys. Let us know what your questions, your specific concerns are, and we'll do our best to address them. But for those of us who are reading this and having the fun with it, you got the parts, and most of you have them assembled correctly. So it's just a matter of filling in a few blanks, finding the switches that you might not have seen, and most of all, it's taking that perspective of this doctrine lets you see the world one of 3 ways. And to finish off that potential thing, it simply says that, all right, I'm a Clark, great, I have a Scotian aspect, I have the potential to perceive, experience, if you will, the world as a Scot would, which just widen my range of actions, reactions, and potential a bit more than just being a Clark. And it's inherent in all of us to do that. Some are more difficult than others. I have a Rogerian aspect. That's the big project for me. For many Clarks, the Rogerian aspect is the farthest away of the 3. Just as for a Scot, the Clark aspect is the farthest away. There's some kind of an opposite thing going on there. So, more to follow, but we will see you around. Bye.